Hello there, welcome back to Isengard Abridged Part 9. Last time we took out one of Rohan's armies after waiting a long time for them to attack me, and it turned out they're not interested, so we turned this around and began an offensive. We used some night attacks to pick apart the big invasion force that was nearby Foldberg. We took down another Rohan invasion at Helm's Deep, as we so often do. And now we need to do the last part of saving Foldberg. The biggest section of the Rohan army is still alive, and we've gathered up a big army to challenge them. This battle exemplifies some of the annoyances of fighting an enemy that has a lot of cav, because the AI in this game is better than it is in the later games at using cav. For example, it's going nice and wide with the outflanking maneuvers, so it's much less likely to accidentally just run into my flank guards or even the center like the later Total War AIs usually do or always do in practice. So yes, having these big groups of cav that are spread out on the flanks makes it hard for me to stop them from going behind me. I do have something on my side there. Some reinforcements coming in from the side of the map are distracting the enemy's outflanking cav. They're kind of turning to face them and generally not advancing. At the other end of the line, things go okay. Because the AI eventually runs into my spears, I had all my spearmen waiting in reserve, ready for just such an occasion. So there you go, that's something more like the later Total War AIs happening, just a bit further away from the center. The annoying thing though, that again the later AIs wouldn't do, is when you do get them bogged down with spears, they'll just disengage, which is of course the right thing to do in that scenario. They won't fight to the death and die, which would help me out. Unfortunately, we're going to actually spend most of this battle trying to constantly re-engage enemy cav units. Here's a case where a cav unit was probably in the right flank group, but came over to rear attack one of my units in the center, doing devastating damage. All good stuff, so praise be to the AI. It's doing well here, as you can see, avoiding my spears. But it's annoying for me as the player, because now we have to spend a very long time trying to get them. At least the infantry fight in the middle should go our way, eventually. On the right here, the AI were being pretty good at not dying to my pikes, but the pikes seem to do pretty well at not dying to cav as well, because even when they get rear attacked, if you order them to turn round after the fight started, they seem to not lose many troops and then do a lot of damage right back. So that all went quite a lot better than I expected, actually. As you can see there, the center is now broken. We chased the enemy's melee imp off the field. On the balance bar you can see we've kind of won, except that we haven't, because we have to finish off the cav, and the cav units have decent morale. Even like the horse archers will fight for ages in melee before they'll go away. So this takes us a while. In fact, it took as long as all of the battle up to now to get to this point again, where the battle finally ends once everything is routing at the same time. We were already over the cap, so we can leave right away, and there's the result. Not really that bad. We lost 20% of our troops, but the enemy lost everything, and that's what we like to see. This means the siege of Foldberg is now over, and over for the last time. We finally actually relieved Foldberg of the current ongoing invasion, and because we took down the other nearby Rohan troops at Helm's Deep recently as well, we're left with a very unique situation for this campaign. We have a stack on the front line, and we can go towards the enemy. So we don't really need to do the whole relieving Helm's Deep thing that this campaign was originally about, or this move with Saruman's army. We can easily relieve Helm's Deep, but we might as well take troops out of it actually, and go on the offensive towards Edoras down the road. Here is me doing just that on the next turn. We move in and see that Edoras isn't particularly heavily defended, just a few units and a general. So let's go in and besiege them. We can reach them all the way this turn, very nice. Says it's a Gondor city here, not sure what's going on with that, but anyway, we can slap out some rams and siege towers. It says we're not allowed to build ladders, but we are allowed to build siege towers, which is suspicious. And you'll see this is the game tricking me in a moment, as it's done before with siege towers actually, although it's the opposite trick to what we saw last time. Economically, we're making a bit of cash, so that's something. We can actually have some more units, or even save up for a building in a rare twist. Now here we are in the next turn after that. It didn't show me the Rohan moves again, but we can see what they were. They're clustering up, ready to counter-attack Saruman. Seems they didn't want to go right ahead with it. I'm guessing they're waiting for those other armies that are further away to come in and join all of these groups, and they'll have one big battle. However, we've got 2 rams and 2 siege towers ready, so we can just attack Edoras right now and be inside the walls instead. We can use night attack to cancel out the nearby reinforcements, but the enemy still have some presence there on the balance bar, and this is because they have spawned some free garrison units unfortunately. They've got 5 units of these Westron defenders who upon inspection are better than my melee troops, so that's bad to see. although they might not be better than my general's bodyguards, and you can see I've got 5 general's bodyguards in this army, so that's something. We do have some good melee infantry available. Anyway, so we need to do this manually, and as we do so, we immediately realize that siege tower trick. This place only has a palisade wall, so while it lets you build siege towers but not ladders for some reason, they don't do anything. I also remembered that I've actually fought on this map before when I played as Mordor a long time ago, so I should have remembered this. But anyway, there are 2 gates to Edoras, 1 on each side of the hill, so we're going to go for both. The terrible defences of this supposedly capital city will help us at first, because this small wall is not high enough to stop projectiles, and the hill behind it is high enough to make everything be in line of sight of my archers. So to start with, we just shoot these guys hanging around behind the gate. It looked like maybe they were going to come out to take revenge, but they also had second thoughts and got shot a load more times. After a while though, they did come down to the gate, open it up, and come on out. At this point I need to make a bit of space so they can get nice and out of the gate to give us some flanks to attack. So we let them come out and then start hitting them from multiple sides. Meanwhile, my archers can now shoot further up the hill at other stuff which is not responding in the same fashion. They're going to stand and take the arrows. They weren't really dying, to be fair. But still, this helps me out. We can kill that first unit without worrying about reinforcements pouring out or the battle escalating. And there we go, that unit routes and runs back through the gate. I didn't follow them through because I wanted to still just stand here and keep shooting arrows, or even draw more stuff out. But then, what is this? For some reason I'm attacked in front of me outside the walls by these skirmishing cav, and I realised the AI has done something flabbergasting that I really did not expect. They actually took units out of the back gate of the town and brought them around for a cheeky flank attack. I'm sure it was an accident, but I've never seen anything like that in Total War actually happen. Anyway, despite this advanced strat they've used, it doesn't help them enormously just because they don't have enough stuff to pull it off. Their general there intercepts my group that was going towards that back gate, so I guess this will help out the defenders in that my attack on that gate will now be severely delayed because of how long it takes for my trash units to kill a general and bodyguard, and that is a very long time. We're here a while later, I was shooting them in the back with arrows and fighting them from the front with everything including our spear guard. We're very slowly killing them, but unfortunately they can leave that fight whenever they want, so we won't be able to actually finish them off. Back at the main assault, my archers are still shooting stuff up the hill. It's not really doing anything. I'm guessing there's some sort of debuff on shooting targets that are quite far above you, because we didn't really get any kills, but it's still aggroed the enemy. It looks like they're now tempted to come down and attack the gate with more units, or attack out of the gate that is. I'm currently wedged in the gate there with Lurtz. We need to get out of the way and make some space so that the enemy can come through and get killed. Meanwhile, those skirmish cav who attacked us earlier are still alive. These guys were a real pain. They kept just dancing around, avoiding all of my melee units and generally throwing jabs in and picking up the odd kill here and there. Super annoying. Similar deal with their general and bodyguard over here. You can see they disengaged from my big melee blob and then went around to rear attack my archers. The AI is just being so good. This is the episode of praising the AI in general. They are pulling off some moves and making my life hard. Here you can see I've now pulled away from the gate and I'm trying to get stuff to come through, and while they're not coming through we're still shooting them while they're in the gate. That might actually be doing some damage. While I was waiting for something good to get going here, something bad has already got going here that I didn't really realise. Lurtz is currently standing over by the palisade wall fighting like 2 scout cavalrymen. You can see them there. And I thought, well, that's fine, we can ignore that situation. But what is this? Lurtz is dead. That was a surprise. So Lurtz has somehow died. Now it looks like he was fighting just these 1 or 2 scout cav who don't possibly have the stats to actually defeat someone with a load of hit points like a general, let alone even one of the general's bodyguards. So I thought, what's going on here? Then I noticed that lots of the enemies are kind of phasing through the nearby wall, and Lurtz would have been on the far left side of the unit, which is where the leftmost bodyguards are as well, which made me think Lurtz might have got sucked into the palisade wall or something and died in that fashion. Or perhaps he just got trapped on the other side on his own, and there are some more guys behind there that we can't really see who managed to kill him when he was isolated. Not quite sure. I'm calling illegitimacy on this death of Lurtz just because it seems unlikely. However, there is one thing we can make of the situation. Now Lurtz's bodyguard unit will get deleted at the end of the fight, so we can just use it to fight the rest of the battle since it doesn't matter if we take any losses, and they're a good unit, so that's really going to help us out, suddenly deciding that they are disposable in some respects. I pull everything else out of the fighting and push Lurtz in, or Lurtz's bodyguards that is, and now we wait. We'll break through, there's plenty more stuff behind the gate to sacrifice him against. Annoyingly, some of these Westeros guys have come around the side of the fort, as well as those earlier cav units. So now we have to fight them. This, in theory, is easy, because as you can see here, we can set up for some big flank attacks fighting all the way along that nice long flank. However, they have like really high morale, so they're not going to rout for a long time, and their stats are higher than ours, so we're going to end up taking a unfavourable trade and just gradually kill them over time, taking a ton of losses ourselves there. Annoying. Meanwhile, we wait to see what Lurtz can do, and he can do quite a lot actually. He pushes through the gate, defeating the first unit, and once he's inside, this does aggro most of the enemy's remaining stuff to come down the hill and face him. Again, we just need to leave him to it. The plan was to go in and mop up everything that's left after his unit has been completely wiped out, but that took a while. Long enough that I easily had time to go and open the back gate and bring reinforcements in, but I'm holding them back still because we don't want to commit anything until the Lurtz bullet has finished its trail, and we only have to suffer as many losses as we need to end the fight. But as we see, looks like things are going okay. Lurtz is actually just annihilating everything that's coming down to face him so far. I also noticed the enemy general is still alive, so I came over here to take a look. He's just chilling out far away with one bodyguard left, perhaps a little distraught over what's happening. I like to think that he is mourning the death of Lurtz. He is too honourable to use what was surely some kind of wall hack to bring him down. But we're not too honourable to leave him alive. We send some of the Dunlendings to go and attack him, and he actually dies surprisingly fast. I guess he had no hit points left. And that's that, the enemy general is down. Not that it particularly matters, I think he would just die after we captured the settlement anyway. So yeah, speaking of capturing the settlement, here we are some time later. Lurtz has barely taken any casualties and has hacked his way through everything up to the capture point. This was getting ridiculous, so I brought over some archers to at least pretend to help out, and it really is pretend. Here we get a full volley into the back of 4 or 5 guys, and only one of them goes down. These archers are really weak overall, which can't be said for Lurtz's bodyguards. They do actually just defeat everything in the town, losing between 10 and 20 troops, which is further evidence that Lurtz probably wouldn't have died fighting those few scouts, and some foul play must have been afoot there. So that was, in the end, a really good result. Most of our losses were in that grinding fight outside the walls that I mentioned. We can ransom the captives to get some free money since they get deleted anyway in a settlement assault, and there we have it. The capital of Rohan has been captured. And of course we'll want to sack this place to keep them happy and keep them scared. And here's more confirmation that Lurtz is indeed dead. Can I get an F in the comments for poor Lurtz, taken before his time? He was a max level commander and a really good unit, so that's actually a major blow. Ugluk is our new heir, which made me think, well, do we have a family tree system or something to see like what the line of succession actually is? And I guess not, because I never found it, but that might just be because I suck. With Edoras under our control, the first thing we'll want to do is actually leave and take out the reinforcements that are hanging around nearby. And here I make a critical mistake that's going to come back to haunt me a lot of times after this actually. I move out and auto-resolve one of these groups, but their survivors go back and take the fort that was nearby. I could have just taken that fort with one unit before I made that move, and then they wouldn't have been able to go in there. So that's annoying. Now there are some troops behind our lines, not very many, mind you, but it's still annoying. However, the number is going to increase because I go over here to attack this Hengist guy. The balance bar's good, but the result isn't that good. We lost more men than I wanted. And Hengist and a few troops survived and also went into that fort. Again, could have blocked the bridges or something to stop this happening, but no. So now there's a not completely negligible army stuck in that fort behind Edoras, meaning I can't just leave like one unit to guard Edoras. We actually need to take them down. So that's annoying. I decided to detach an army right now to go do it. We can start making some siege stuff and try to just actually defeat them. As for everything else, we'll go into Edoras and wait around. to see what Rohan's response to losing their capital is, and indeed they are going to have a response. Far away I had this diplomat. Going up the coast I was basically trying to find out how much stuff does Enidwaith have. The answer is loads. Their territory goes really far up the coast into the part I thought was controlled by the elves. But also, it looks like the Dunlendings have territory up here as well, so both of these factions, which I thought were just right next to me in little groups, seem to be gigantic in comparison to me. Hopefully that's all fine. Now moving on to the next turn, the Lord of Dol Guldur is dead, however, seems he came back from the dead immediately, so it's all going fine up there at Dol Guldur. That's some evil place up in the forest, don't need to worry about that. Here's what we do need to worry about. There's been some sort of mass uprising of Rohan folk who have decided they don't want Edoras to be controlled by Saruman, so they've rallied together a big army to attack me. It comes across like it's going to be an army of pure trash, like it's just peasant farmers rising up. Unfortunately, that's not how this works. We'll take this new officer while we can. Look, Edoras has fallen, isn't that nice? But I suppose that's the problem, because it's made this stack appear. And this stack's actually pretty good. It's the biggest single Rohan army we've seen so far. It's also the best one. It has different kinds of units to what we normally see. They've got some heavy swordsmen and some lancers, and this unit, not sure really what it is, some kind of pike-ish looking unit with super high stats. So all nasty stuff. This is one of the reasons why having our forces besieging that fort behind Edoras is so annoying. We need to work out what we can do about this, and the first thing I thought is, well, we need a bridge battle because our army will get annihilated in the field. Defending Edoras is no good because the defences aren't very useful. However, there are bridges right next to Edoras, so we're in luck. Here it looks like I'm planning to attack them, but actually I was cunningly trying to see what the pathfinding line was between their position and mine. Seeing that the shortest route takes them across this western bridge, I put most of our stuff on the bridge, thinking that may trigger a bridge battle for us. The thing is, they can just attack from the north. There's another little bridge that's quite hard to see there, so this isn't really a foolproof strategy. Here we are at the start of the next turn, so clearly that battle didn't happen. But before we look at the situation, we've got this happening. We have reached the point in the campaign when we're allowed to unlock all of our official military units, like Uruk warriors and Uruk pikes, Uruk crossbows as well, I think. I thought maybe we could recruit them right away, but this event just unlocks some high tier buildings, and if we get those buildings we'll then be able to recruit those things. Our economy isn't really good enough to reliably make buildings, but one day that might actually happen. So here's what happened with the Rohan situation. They did just besiege Edoras on the other bridge, so our taking troops out of the town approach didn't really help. We're going to stop the siege of that camp at the back to free these troops up to come help, because we'll certainly need everything we can possibly muster here. First, I use them to actually attack the nearby reinforcement group. We can use a night attack to cancel out the enemy's main force. Not a very good auto-resolve, but it gets those guys out of the way, and puts this army in reinforcement range of the enemy's main force. Now, the only thing we can do is attack them. I guess we could give up Edoras, that's the other option, but I still had hopes that we can do something with this because the enemy are standing on a bridge. So this is a bridge battle, albeit a bridge assault. You might think that makes things even worse for us, but it doesn't have to stay as a bridge assault. Things like this, the air-raid heavy lancers, would annihilate us in the field, so we do need to do some trickery, I think, to get through this situation, and a bridge battle is the perfect time to mess with the AI. Obviously, the overall plan is to make this a bridge defense somehow. We want to aggro the enemy into thinking they need to attack me, and we'll set up on our side of the bridge. I put Saruman in the middle of the bridge once we're all done setting up, and he can launch some bolts in the enemy's general direction. They take a few casualties, and after a while finally do decide, you know what, we're not going to stand for this. They decide to run forwards, so hopefully they're now aggroed onto Saruman. We turn around and start running, trying to escape in time, and this is it. The enemy have started to cross the bridge. They're only crossing with half of their army as well, as you can see on the minimap, which is perfect. Now that they're in position, we'll try and kill them. Our archers are probably doing virtually nothing there, shooting up and over our troops. As for our infantry, well, some of them are going to at least be a match for the enemy's troops. Rohan's good troops probably aren't that good, and they're probably worse than, say, our berserkers and our general's bodyguards. So that fight might not be as bad as I fear. Still, it has to work. This is our gambit. We'll let the fight go on and try to win, while Saruman snipes away at the enemy's flank with his crossbows from over there, which is going to be very handy for us. I wanted to do a similar thing on the other flank. You can see actually the enemy eventually commit everything else into this fight, forming their offensive reverse phallus formation. So yes, our troops are being pushed apart, and it looks like we need to do something here to stop the enemy actually breaking out of the bridgehead and us not having our little defensive advantage for fighting the enemy with lots of units at the same time. The advantage there coming from the fact it gives the enemy a morale debuff. I actually opened up the left flank of our block to get arrows more readily into the side of the enemy's formation. It doesn't appear to be doing anything, but over time those arrows might be getting kills. As I've said before, the Uruk archers aren't too much to put your faith in. One perhaps more helpful thing we can do is pop off the old Voice of Saruman, which I think actually stuns the enemy for 5 seconds or something. So I think for the next couple of seconds lots of enemies will rapidly die in the front line, not that we really see. And more importantly, it removes their stamina or something like that, which means they're going to be easier to kill in general. And then this happens. We kill a general. Saruman, shooting into the flank, takes out the enemy commander, and this is revolutionary. That balance bar swings into our favour as large parts of the enemy phallus begin to rout, and they're routing right down into our troops. At first I thought, oh god, they've realised the flank's open and they're just going to attack me, but no, they're actually routing just with really high strength units, which is very surprising and extremely welcome, because I didn't think we'd be able to hack our way through all of them, at least not without extreme casualties or perhaps losing more of our officers who are there in the middle of the fight. So, this is it. We're just going to let the footage roll because this is how the battle is won, really. The enemy mostly rout, and we just get in there with everything and start absolutely slaughtering them. You can check out the number in the bottom right soaring up as enemy captives are taken, and of course they have no chance of being ransomed. They're dead. This is pure glory and a nice way to avoid fighting the enemy's good army, which I feel is deserved since the army just spawned for free. I don't mind effectively killing them for free, somehow anyway. Not really sure how this happened. It might also be because Saruman has like max level dread, so he's debuffing the enemy just by being near them, debuffing their morale, that is. Eventually everything's routed. We've already killed over the cap, so we just end the battle, and there's the result. Losing 200 to kill 2,000, extremely good for what could have promised to be the most difficult battle of the campaign so far. That is what we like to see. Bridge battles always give it to you. One bridge to rule them all, and it's now the one at Edoras. The Eisen Bridge age is over. So, we're actually going to hold Edoras by the looks of things, although that said, there is going to be a bit more annoyance we have to get through in the next part to continue holding it, as you'll see. The other thing I was eager to do is go to the east and capture the next Rohan town, because this one is the edge of Rohan in this direction. If we take it, we'll be bordering Gondor, our brave allies, and that might help us out. So I guess we'll look at that more in the next part, and we'll see Rohan's further response to the situation at Edoras, and my attempts to get out of this situation and actually attack Rohan some more. I'll see you for that.